Hello, everyone, and welcome to our presentation. My name is Emilio Martinez III, and today I, along with Jesus Chavez Hernandez, Fernando Furman, Eduardo Garcia, Matthew Ivey, and Michaela Robertson, will be presenting on the topic of affordability of modern technology. The topics we'll be presenting on today include the digital divide, presented by me, the impact of the haves and have-nots of modern technologies, presented by Eduardo Garcia, efforts being done to make technology affordable to the poor, presented by Jesus Chavez Hernandez, problems associated with the have-to-have technology culture, presented by Michaela Robertson, job and employment opportunities, presented by Fernando Furman. So let's start by defining what is meant by the digital divide. The digital divide is the gap between those of access to modern technology and the internet, called the haves, and those who do not, called the have-nots. The digital divide in the United States refers to the inequalities between individuals, households, and groups' access, but also inequalities in the knowledge and skills needed to effectively use the technology. The digital divide is about more than just having access to an internet connection computer. It's about how well you're able to use those tools. In a time like we are experiencing right now, amidst this pandemic, the ability to access computers and the internet has become increasingly important to continue to be successful in education, employment, and other social aspects of life. The digital divide has become all the more apparent during this pandemic time when everyone is having to do more virtually and remotely. However, the reality is that not everyone has the technologies needed, and hence we have the digital divide. The digital divide refers to the gap between the underprivileged members of society, especially the poor, those living in rural areas, the elderly, and the handicapped populations who do not have access to computers or the internet, while the privileged members of society that include the wealthy, the middle class, and the young Americans living in urban and suburban areas who do have access to those modern technologies. According to research studies in America, the privileged, the haves, tend to be those in middle to higher income brackets who live in urban and suburban areas and have higher education levels. Research has also found that more males in the younger age groups tend to have more technology and know-how than females. The underprivileged have nots tend to be the poor, the less educated, the elderly, the handicapped, and those with special needs. Foster children, the homeless, and those living in rural areas. Also, charter schools tend to have less technology. Some people have no computing device at all, and some people have high-speed internet in their home computer, and many are somewhere in the middle. This difference in access is referred to as the digital divide and is often due to socioeconomic, geographic, or demographic factors. There are many parts of the U.S. where broadband is available. In urban areas, 97% of Americans have access to high-speed fixed services. In rural areas, that number falls to 65%. And on tribal lands, barely 60% have access. All told, nearly 30 million Americans cannot reap the benefits on the digital aid. You will hear more about the impact of modern technology and affordability and the digital divide in the next presentation segment being presented by Eduardo Garcia. Here are my sources.
The impact of the have and have-nots of modern technologies. I'm Eduardo Garcia. I'll be focusing on the impact in the workforce. Note that the digital divide affects our society, but other factors as well. As leaders and communities adapt to navigate a world with COVID-19, many have turned to virtual tools. Employers ask employees to work from home and operate remotely. Restaurants and grocery stores offer online delivery options. Classes are taught online. Telehealth is a reality, and everyone Zooms. These options, unfortunately, are not available to all. To utilize telehealth or take classes online, people need digital access. This means a foundational community infrastructure that facilitates access to broadband. Secondly, the individual must have the hardware to engage, and finally, the individual needs to know what to do with it once they have it. A study by the Towards Employment Organization states nationally 34 million Americans lack access to broadband of at least 25 megabits per second download speed. Households making 25,000 or less have an adoption rate for broadband of 47% compared to with those making more than 100,000 with an adoption rate of 92%. Broadband is now a basic infrastructure essential to the well-being of all in our community. The pandemic has only highlighted that we don't have and accelerated the need for building access to the emerging digital economy. Job seekers use the internet for job searches and communication with potential employers. Many industries are more likely to hire for middle skill positions, which are positions that require more than a high school diploma but less than a 4-year degree. Middle skill jobs require digital skills, and most intensive middle skill jobs pay more. From a workforce development perspective, closing this gap in digital access is paramount to ensuring residents can participate in an economy that is increasingly digital. There are so many opportunities to take advantage of retraining, but only if you have the infrastructure, hardware, and skills to use them. A study by the National Skills Coalition states that half of Black workers need digital skills, with 17 having no digital skills, 33% having limited skills, 37 have proficient skills, and 13 have advanced skills. While more than half of Latino workers need digital skills, with 32 having no digital skills, 25 having limited skills, 26 have proficient, and 17 have advanced skills. If minorities want to reach the same lifestyles as their fellow Americans, we have to come together and provide educational programs that close this digital divide. And this may also mean financial programs so that minorities and others can afford to own this hardware and internet service, as well as have the classes needed to gain this knowledge. Thank you very much.
Yes, this is Travis. My topic for this project is efforts by individuals and organizations to make technology affordable for the poor. Efforts have been authorized to make technology available for people to get a hold of, right, that can't really afford it. There has been many individuals and organizations such as schools lend out computers, especially in this time around with this whole virus. There is schools that lend out computers with Wi-Fi to provide the students with the technology for them to stay up to date with the assignments that they have, right? And it increases better ways for the kids to get information and get and stay there with their education. Content and tools locally. There has been new contents. The example that I've provided was translators. Translators are available for free. There's translators on the phone. For example, this translator is really helpful, especially for engineers. But not even that is not really the case. There's people around that probably need a translator because there's a bunch of foreigners everywhere, and it'll make it easier for people that are in a different environment, obviously, to get more familiarized with their language and things like that. For example, Afghanistan is making efforts that show work being targeted to the environment to help people utilize the technology and make it more efficient to understand and apprehend the community which they're in. These individuals and organizations could, around the world, impact the society in a positive way to make technology available to many of us. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Michaela, and I'm going to be presenting the problems associated with the have-to-have technology culture. So, when you look around, you'll see that almost everyone has some form of technology, whether it's a phone, a smartwatch, a laptop, etc. Tech is becoming like a basic necessity now in these modern times, and it's starting to take over almost any and everything, literally. But there are problems that are associated with it, and I'm going to talk about 4, but there are many more. I only listed 4. So some of those problems include social isolation, addiction, physical and mental health problems, and it causes people to spend big money to stay up to date with new tech. So the first topic is social isolation, and this is one of the biggest problems that the have-to-have technology culture brings to our society. Social media is one of the most contributing factors to this because everyone feels the need to stay connected to the online world wherever they go. So if you're at a party and you notice someone is on their phone like the whole time, they're social isolating, basically. They're not associated with anyone in the real world. They're just strictly focused on their phone. This can result in social isolation, which I said, because it keeps us connected to our phones, but disconnected with everything else around us. The next topic is addiction. Technology addiction is very real. If you feel the need to always have your phone any and everywhere you go, then you're probably addicted to it. It will seem as if your phone, smartwatch, etc., is a part of you, and you always have to have it wherever you go. And it's kind of like a drug addiction. Like drug addicts, they have to have that drug, or they'll like have those side effects. And that's the same as technology addiction. Form of technology such as video games can also cause you to be addicted to tech, as well as social media. But we already mentioned that for social isolation. This is a problem in the have-to-have technology culture because it makes you feel as if you cannot go without it. Like you can't leave your house without your phone. You can't leave your house without your smartwatch or AirPods, like any form of technology, not just phone, but any form. So the last topic I'm going to talk about is money, which ties into the main topic, which is the affordability of modern tech. So nowadays, many people feel like they have to stay up to date with brand new friendly technology, whether it's a new phone, computer, gaming system, etc. These things can range from various different prices, starting from the hundreds to the thousands. Some choose to spend money that they don't really have to stay up to date, and this is where the problem comes in. The have-to-have technology culture causes people to spend so much money on these different forms of technology that they barely can afford. And that's where the problem comes in, as I said before, because society puts pressure on people to feel like they have to stay up to date with the newest technology when you really don't have to. And that's all I have to say about this topic. And lastly, these are my references, or this is my only reference. So yeah, thank you for watching.
So I'll be covering the last slide of our presentation about job employment opportunities and how tech has a huge effect on that. So one of the biggest misconceptions is that tech will ultimately take all of our jobs and increase the unemployment rate, which at a certain degree is true, but it's mostly untrue. So one of the headlines for one of the articles were, technology has created more jobs in the last 144 years than it has destroyed. So yes, there is a rise of tech being used by companies nowadays, but it also is opening up the door for more jobs to be available. So some of the key points that I did have were projected 133 million new jobs in the coming years. So although we will lose about 75 million jobs, it will create 133 million new jobs in the coming years. So which is about a 50 million job difference. So we can already see that there is an increase in jobs. So that misconception really is misleading to most people. So we know that more jobs are definitely going to be on the way. Another key point was that dangerous jobs have been on the decline. So with our rise in tech, we can actually get tech to do more dangerous jobs. And so a human or as such doesn't really have to do and put their life in risk. That's another key point. A lot of increases in other jobs as well. There was a 909 increase in nursing assistants during the last 2 decades. Along with that, a 580 increase in teaching and educational assistants. So with us avoiding, I guess you could say unmeaningful jobs and less dangerous jobs, it allows us to have more focus and attention on more of educational and medical jobs. So which does make sense. And in addition to this, 183% increase in welfare, housing, youth, and community workers, which again makes sense because now we have more time and more opportunity to focus more on other things such as our own community. So yes, it does make sense. More on the American base of it, Apple has created over 20,000 jobs in January of 2018 for Americans. But this wasn't the only company that created more jobs. Amazon has created 11,000 jobs in June of 2018 for Americans. Progressive also created 10,000 jobs in January of 2019 for Americans. Google has created additional 7,000 jobs in December for 2018 for Americans. So from all the data, we can conclude that yes, tech will eventually take over our jobs, and we can see it. One example is because I work at a grocery store, so I see self-checkout on the rise. So I definitely see it coming, but we also aren't paying attention to the increase in new doors of jobs opening up for us. And although a lot of people, including myself, are worried about it, I have a little more comfort knowing that there's actually more jobs coming and on the rise for the future.